Oh, my ATM card is missing. I'm sure I put it in the back of this drawer. Could it be them? Despite supporting the livelihood of my eldest son and his wife, who have been living with me for several years, they've been ignoring me for the past 3 years. Even if they don't say thank you, I wish they would at least show a bit of gratitude. But I'm done with it. I will never forgive them. My name is Emily, 56 years old. I retired from my job to take care of my frail mother-in-law. Now, I make a living by doing remote work along with caregiving. I was supposed to retire in a few years, but I couldn't leave my mother-in-law alone, so I decided to live with her. My husband is on a job assignment away from home and can only come home once a month at best. But when he does, he brings a lot of her favorite vegetables and classic American desserts. Thank you. I'm so grateful for everything. I wish I could have given some to your father. Every time she speaks, she expresses her gratitude to us and her memories of my father-in-law. It's been over 10 years since he passed away from an illness. He was in the advanced stages of cancer and couldn't even eat his favorite foods at the end. If he had been examined earlier, he might have been saved. By the time the disease was detected, it was incurable and only symptom relief was possible. So, every time my mother-in-law eats something delicious, she wishes she could have shared it with her late husband. It's like her catchphrase. However, her health varies greatly from day to day. Some days she's bedridden and hardly eats, while other days she's up and about, even going for walks. I'm always surprised by her unpredictable actions. But as long as she's enjoying herself, I'm content watching over her. But there is one thing that troubles me, which happens 2 or 3 times a month. It's when my eldest son and his wife, who live nearby, show up. Hey, Mom, Grandma, it's been a while. You guys good? We're starving. Can you make something quick for us? LOL. Hi there, mother-in-law, we're hungry. Can you hurry up with the food? My eldest son, John, and his wife, Catherine. They got married a year ago and often visit us like this. They show up unexpectedly, demand food, and sometimes even ask for money. They probably know when my mother-in-law receives her pension. Hey, Grandma, today's the day you get your pension, right? Sorry, but could you give us poor folks a little donation? LOL. Here we go again. They won't leave until they get money. John, enough is enough. What about your job? You're working, right? Stop taking advantage of Grandma's precious pension. What? It's none of your business. This is between me and Grandma. Right, Grandma. My gentle and timid mother-in-law can't stand up to him and stays silent. She reluctantly went to her room, took out her wallet, and handed over hundreds of dollars. This was the usual routine. I can tell she wants to refuse and seems quite distressed, but can't say no. So, every time I speak on her behalf, when I voice my opinion, we usually end up arguing. I keep my husband, who is on a solo assignment, updated regularly. He often just sighs and says, "Eck, what a troublesome guy. Not even having a steady job. What is he doing? Even though he just got married, he's such a hopeless case." Though my son seems to be reprimanded, the phone calls don't seem to be effective. My mother-in-law and I feel exhausted just from the eldest son and his wife visiting. And we lose the motivation to do anything. I'm so tired. Yes, I really feel that way. It's like all my energy has been drained. We used to bear with it, thinking it's just a few times a month. But the frequency of their visits increased, and our stress kept accumulating. And then, an incident happened. One weekday afternoon, my son suddenly showed up and said, "You know, turns out I got fired from my job, so I was hoping to live here for a while, if that's okay, haha." What? Fired? It seems that he had caused various problems at work, like repeated unauthorized absences and losing a USB stick with important company data. At first, there was talk of a salary cut, but he got into a huge argument with his boss and ended up getting fired. Despite it clearly being his fault, he seems unapologetic. Damn it. Everyone acts so high and mighty, even though they don't do their jobs properly. And this is why I hate people who act like elites. Anyway, I'll be moving in next week, so thanks in advance. Hold on. Living together is out of the question. It's too sudden. My mother-in-law isn't in good health every day. I tried to refuse, but it seems like John has no intention of changing his mind. As expected, he reacted with frustration and said things like, "Och, it's already decided. I've already canceled the apartment lease and booked the movers. If you still say we can't live here, you'll have to cover our living expenses." I almost sighed out of frustration. I wish my husband was here to strictly handle this situation, but I can't do much on my own. Emily, is John moving in here? If that's the case, should I move to a facility? I'll just be in the way. Plus, they probably won't work. What are you talking about, mother-in-law? You don't have to worry about such things. I'll make sure John works, and I'll have him leave soon. I felt so sorry to even make the elderly mother-in-law worry like this. We might have doted on our only son, but we never intended to raise him to be so thoughtless. I don't want to say it like this, but the son I knew was a kind and considerate child. It seems like he changed after meeting Catherine. I told my mother-in-law many times, "You don't have to worry. I intend to protect you." The mother-in-law, who was tense, gradually relaxed. But before we knew it, the day had come for my son and his wife to move in. Until now, my mother-in-law and I had separate bedrooms. But she felt uneasy about being alone, so we rearranged the rooms and shared one. I thought my mother-in-law, who values each person's time and space, must have felt quite anxious to insist on being in the same room. Not long after that, my son and his wife arrived. From the first day, their words and actions were so shocking to us. "Hey, Mom, Catherine and I want to use the entire second floor as our room. That's okay, right? From today, the second floor toilet will be exclusively for us. You guys don't come up to the second floor." Exactly. After all, we're still a newlywed couple, deeply in love. We don't want unnecessary people coming and going. Please understand that, even though one of the rooms on the second floor was my office, all the items from that room were moved to the hallway on that day itself. I was utterly speechless. If we kept quiet, they just continued to do and say whatever they pleased. "Mom, there's still a mortgage on this house, right? I don't intend to pay rent until I secure a job. And I also don't plan to pay for food or utilities. Take care of it." I didn't have high expectations, but I increasingly felt irritated. "Yo, is that so?" From that conversation onward, I was ignored by the couple. Even after a week of living together, and with their things settled, my son showed no sign of job hunting. Plus, his wife would leave dishes unwashed, and hardly did any laundry. Moreover, my mother-in-law had a doctor's appointment every 2 weeks. However, when I checked the garage on those days, the car was gone, indicating the two of them used it without permission. When they returned the car, it was littered with trash, and the gas was almost empty. But they didn't even refill it. As a result, we had to take a taxi for the doctor's visits. Even though our tasks increased exponentially, my mother-in-law, who was supposed to relax, ended up helping out. When I asked John, "Are you even looking for a job? You're always out. At least do something. At the very least, clean up after yourself." He just ignored me. It seemed he clearly heard me, but chose to ignore me. Later, he complained to his wife, saying things like, "Lately, I've been hearing hallucinations, like someone talking about job hunting. I have a house and food. Why would I work? That's so stupid. And if someone notices a mess, they should just clean it up." His wife, without showing any sign of remorse, laughingly said, "I get it. Ever since I came to this house, I started hearing things too, and I've also seen 2 ghosts. So scary." I presume by hallucinations, he meant my warnings. And by ghosts, he was referring to me and my mother-in-law. The two of them were so inconsiderate and selfish. After discussing with my mother-in-law, we decided to let them be for a little longer. We believed an opportunity for payback would surely come. Just like the couple complained about us. My mother-in-law and I would always talk about them when they weren't around. Was there something wrong with the way I raised him? I didn't think I spoiled him. But given how he turned out, I must have been too lenient. "What are you talking about, Emily? You've always worked hard, be it at work, raising your child, or doing household chores. It's John who doesn't recognize a parent's hard work. And honestly, his wife is the worst. I'd really like to see what her parents look like, being constantly criticized and treated poorly." My mother-in-law and I began discussing ways to evict the couple from our house. Since our bedrooms were together from morning till night, our conversations were filled with such discussions. I might have been devastated if I was alone in this situation. But being together made me feel that we could overcome it. Before I knew it, almost 3 years had passed since we started living together. After all, we've been ignored for already 3 years, haven't we? Maybe they thought we were real ghosts or something, lol. Indeed, lol, that's a point. But won't their savings run out soon too, considering they haven't paid a penny for rent or living expenses? They must be covering their phone bills and dining out costs themselves. From what I've heard, they are estranged from the daughter-in-law's parents. So they likely aren't receiving any financial support. They might be ignoring us now, but they'll surely come begging when they run out of money. We had decided that we'd retaliate then. The happening occurred 2 weeks later than this conversation. That day, we were busy getting ready for my mother-in-law's doctor's appointment in the morning. I noticed our son seemed anxious. It didn't look like he was hungry, rather, he seemed to be searching for something. I knew talking to him would get me nowhere. So I ignored it and went to the hospital. When we came home, the son and his wife were nowhere to be seen. Could it be? But just to be sure, I went to the bedroom. My ATM card is gone. I'm sure I put it in the very back of this drawer. Did they? This is going too far. It's a crime. As I thought this. My mother-in-law approached and asked, "Emily, what's wrong? You look pale. Did something happen?" "John and the others stole my bank ATM card. It seems they took it that was in here." "What? Our home loan is $1,300 a month." Despite supporting the son and his wife, who never paid a cent, this is how it turns out. Even if they don't say thank you, I would have hoped for at least a small show of gratitude. But that's okay now, I will never forgive them. It does seem like the card has been taken. But from what I can see from the online banking, no money has been withdrawn. I rushed to the bank to close the account. They were wrong to think they could withdraw money with just the card without PIN. The more I think about it, the angrier I get at them. When I told my husband, he said, "It's over, I don't mind cutting ties with them." My mother-in-law suggested reporting to the police. But we decided that would be our last resort. We quickly left our home. I felt bad for my mother-in-law. But we decided to stay in a luxury inn with a pool until the issue was resolved. "Mother-in-law, I'm sorry for bothering you. I'll try to resolve this issue as quickly as possible. Please bear with us for a while here. Don't worry about me. I'm just happy to stay in such a luxurious inn." I decided then that once this issue is settled, I will find a comfortable new home for my mother-in-law. A few days later, after completing various procedures, I received an unexpected call. It was from my son. "Hello, Mom, you haven't been home lately. Are you on a trip?" I was worried because I haven't seen Grandma either. "What happened?" "It's a bit strange that he could only speak to me when he needed something after ignoring me for the past 3 years, isn't it?" "Oh, what's up? You're speaking to me properly after 3 years. Do you need something? LOL. By the way, I don't need anything from you guys, okay? And please don't say that. I don't really understand. But I received an eviction notice to leave the house by the end of the month. I wonder what's happening even though it's our own house." The president of the real estate company that helped us was outraged when he heard about this situation. He said he would take care of the procedures immediately. But it was impressive that he sent the eviction notice to my son within just 2 days. The realtor acted quickly on our behalf. That's why I decided to tell my shaken son the truth. "Oh, that house, I thought we didn't need it anymore, so I sold it. It seems the next buyer has been found, and they want you to leave soon." What? Even if you tell me that, we have no place to live. Where are you and the others now? We'll come there." Even at this point, my son and his wife are still trying to take advantage of us. It feels like enough is enough. Huh? Why are you suddenly coming to me for help now? LOL, you're such a pathetic man. You freeloaded for 3 years and continued to ignore me and Grandma. Isn't this a bit too convenient for you? Just to let you know, I plan to cut ties with you. Your father has also agreed to this. Please don't say that. I didn't mean to. I really wanted to get along with you and Grandma. I'm also looking for a job. My mother-in-law and I were dumbfounded by the blatant lies that came out of my son's mouth. If he had genuinely seemed remorseful, we might have considered it. But it was already over when he stole the card. By the way, you stole my ATM card from my bedroom. Right, what were you planning to do with it? You just wanted to get the money, didn't you? Lying won't help. No, that's not. My son already sounded like he was about to cry over the phone. Then, thinking that my son wasn't useful, his wife took over the call and started. "Excuse me, What do you mean by this? How can you not feel guilty about evicting your own son and his wife? Are you a demon? She began berating me with a hysterical voice. You also relied on Grandma's pension to live. You're no different from John, acting all high and mighty even though you're jobless. I was taken aback and froze for a moment. Jobless? If I was jobless, do you think I could pay the mortgage for that big house? I've been paying $1,300 every month. And by the way, I'm not jobless, LOL. It felt like a waste even to tell her the truth. Basically, she's so clueless that she didn't even notice. In reality, I earn about $3,500 a month from remote work. But of course, there's no need to tell these two that. Well, if they saw the contents of the bank account, they'd probably figure it out. However, I had to clarify this to her. Hey, Catherine, speaking of which, even though you're unemployed, you always wear only branded goods. Where did you get them from? I think you're the one behaving suspiciously, don't you think? Oh, though I'm not entirely sure, I suspect that my daughter-in-law, who always carries the latest bags and wallets, is in debt. My son, before he was fired, was working for a decent company and was making a decent salary. It might be safe to say that she ruined everything for him. Anyway, I have no intention of prying into your private life. But if you are in debt, you might want to address it soon, or it could turn into a major issue. Also, I'd like you to leave that house as soon as possible. Now, if you'll excuse me. I felt there was still more to say. But since it's a foregone conclusion they'll descend into hell with time, I decided to let them be. After hanging up, my son sent several apology messages, but I ignored all of them. My husband also seems to have received a call from them, but he responded even colder than I did. Up until now, we were the ones being ignored, but from now on, it's our turn to do the ignoring. Anyway, I hope they fully experience their hellish life. A few months later, I heard the young couple moved out of their house and into a run-down apartment. As expected, it seems the daughter-in-law had accumulated a considerable amount of debt. My son brought up divorce, but they decided to pay off the debt together, since there was also a significant amount in his name. There's no way the two of them, both unemployed, could repay it. So now they are working hard while being chased by debt collectors. Their hellish life probably continues, but I truly hope they give it their best. I'm currently considering a house to live in with my mother-in-law. My husband is expected to return from his business trip soon, and we plan to live a peaceful and happy life in a comfortable home.